Welcome. Have you ever wondered why some days feel heavy and slow, while others feel bright and full of energy, even when nothing around you has really changed? What if the difference is not in the world outside, but in the way we think inside our minds? Today, you are about to read a story that will gently pull you into this question and slowly reveal a powerful truth that can change the way you see everything. Imagine walking into a place where every shadow feels deeper than it should, where every small problem grows into a giant obstacle. Now imagine the same place, but filled with light, where even the hardest challenges seem possible to overcome. What creates this difference? Is it luck or something more personal, something that lives within us? As you continue reading, you will discover how a simple shift in thinking can quietly transform everything. There once was a quiet town where people believed that life was mostly controlled by circumstances. If it rained, they felt unlucky. If the sun shone, they felt fortunate. Their moods moved up and down like waves in the ocean, depending on what happened around them. Few people ever questioned this pattern, and even fewer tried to change it. In the center of this town stood an old building known as the Hall of Echoes. It was said that whatever words were spoken inside it would return many times stronger. Most people avoided the place, believing it was strange and mysterious. Some said it was magical, while others thought it was simply a myth created to scare children. One day, a group of curious learners decided to explore the Hall of Echoes. They had heard stories about it, but they wanted to see the truth for themselves. As they stepped inside, they noticed how quiet it was. The walls were smooth and empty, and the air felt still, as if it were waiting for something. One of them spoke softly. "This place feels strange." Immediately, the walls echoed back. "Strange, strange, strange." The sound grew louder each time until it filled the entire hall. The group looked at each other, surprised. Then another voice said, "Maybe it's not so bad." Again, the echo returned. "Not so bad. So bad. Bad." The tone shifted slightly, and the meaning seemed to change. They began to experiment. One person said, "This place is amazing." The echo came back stronger. "Amazing, amazing, amazing." The sound felt warm and exciting. Another person tried, "This is boring." The echo returned. "Boring, boring, boring." The mood of the room seemed to drop instantly. As they continued, they started to notice something important. The hall did not choose what to say. It only repeated what it was given, but stronger, louder, and more powerful. Slowly, the group began to understand that the hall was not magical in the way they first thought. It was simply reflecting their own words back to them. After leaving the hall, the learners could not stop thinking about what they had experienced. They began to wonder if life itself worked in a similar way. What if their thoughts were like the words spoken in the Hall of Echoes? What if the world around them was quietly reflecting those thoughts back, shaping their experiences? Over the next few days, they decided to test this idea. Instead of complaining when something went wrong, they tried to focus on what could be learned. When a problem appeared, they asked themselves, "What is the opportunity here?" At first, it felt unnatural, almost like pretending. But they continued anyway. Something surprising began to happen. Small situations that once caused frustration now felt easier to handle. When delays occurred, they used the time to think or observe. When challenges appeared, they approached them with curiosity instead of fear. The change was not sudden, but it was steady and noticeable. One evening, as they gathered to share their experiences, they realized that their days felt lighter. Nothing major had changed in their environment. The same streets, the same routines, the same people. But their reactions were different. And because their reactions changed, their experiences also changed. Encouraged by this discovery, They began to practice positive thinking more consciously. They created simple habits, like starting the day with a hopeful thought or ending it by remembering something good that happened. These small actions slowly built a new way of seeing the world. However, not every day was easy. There were moments when negative thoughts returned, stronger than before. Doubt, worry, and frustration still appeared, sometimes unexpectedly. But instead of feeling defeated, the learners remembered the Hall of Echoes. They reminded themselves that thoughts grow when repeated. So they practiced gently changing their thoughts. When a negative idea appeared, they did not fight it harshly. Instead, they replaced it with a more balanced or hopeful one. For example, instead of thinking, "This will never work," they said, "This is difficult, but I can try again." This simple shift made a big difference. Over time, their minds became calmer and more focused. They noticed that positive thinking did not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything was perfect. It meant choosing a helpful perspective, even when things were challenging. It was about guiding the mind instead of letting it wander freely. As weeks passed, other people in the town began to notice the change. The learners seemed more confident, more patient, and more energetic. Curious, others asked what had caused this transformation. At first, the learners struggled to explain because the change was internal and not easy to describe. Eventually, they decided to share the story of the Hall of Echoes. They explained how thoughts can grow stronger when repeated, and how the mind can influence the way we experience life. Some people listened carefully and decided to try it themselves, while others remained doubtful. Those who practiced positive thinking started to experience similar changes. Their stress reduced, their focus improved, and they felt more in control of their emotions. Slowly, the atmosphere of the town began to shift. Conversations became more hopeful, and people supported each other more often. The Hall of Echoes, once avoided, became a place of learning. People visited it to remind themselves of the power of their words and thoughts. They used it as a symbol, a simple but powerful reminder that what we give to our minds will return to us, often stronger than before. With time, the town became known for its positive energy. Visitors noticed how people handled difficulties with calmness and strength. They wondered what made this place different, and many left with a new understanding: that the real change does not begin outside, but inside the mind. The learners, now more experienced, understood something even deeper. Positive thinking was not just about feeling good. It was about building resilience, improving decisions, and creating a healthier mental environment. It was a skill that required practice, patience, and awareness. They also learned that balance is important. Being positive does not mean denying reality. It means seeing reality clearly while choosing a constructive response. This balance allowed them to stay grounded while still moving forward with hope and determination. As the story of the town spread, more people became interested in the idea. Some tried it for a short time and gave up, expecting quick results. Others stayed consistent and discovered the true power of this practice. They realized that lasting change takes time and effort. In the end, the Hall of Echoes remained the same simple place it had always been. It did not change its nature. What changed was the understanding of those who entered it. They no longer saw it as mysterious or magical, but as a reflection of a deeper truth about the human mind. And so, the lesson continued to live on, not in the walls of the hall, but in the thoughts of those who learned to guide their minds. They understood that every thought is like a voice in the hall, and every repeated idea becomes stronger over time. As you finish this story, take a moment to reflect on your own thoughts. What are you repeating in your mind every day? Are those thoughts helping you grow or holding you back? The answer may quietly shape your future, just like the echoes in the hall. The power of positive thinking is not loud or dramatic. It works quietly, step by step, thought by thought. But when practiced consistently, It can transform the way you see challenges, opportunities, and even yourself. And that is where real change begins.